And it says here, as part of realizing Turkey's dream, oh my God, look, Israel's actually saying it. As part of realizing Turkey's dream of restoring the Ottoman crown to its former glory and lead to a direct Turkish-Israeli conflict. Oh my God, oy vey, oy gewalt, shalom, shalom, shalom aleichem, except there's not going to be any aleichem, there's not going to be any peace for Israel. Ah, yes, the rise of the Turkish crescent over Syria, the rise of the Turkish Leviathan, which is a result of the toppling of Bashar al-Assad, which was supported by Syria's Jewish neighbor Israel. And now Israel is having to face the reality that it could just be having a war with Turkey in the future. And just recently, the Israeli government put together a plan on preparation for a potential clash with Turkey. Yes, you are hearing me correctly. There was an article that came out today on the Israeli newspaper Walla, and also the Jerusalem Post reported on this as well. And the article talks about this committee in the Israeli government known as the Nagel Commission. This was established by the Israeli government to put together recommendations on Israel's defense budget and the like. And the Nagel Commission recently put out a report on the potential for a conflict between Turkey and Israel. And the commission stated that Israel must prepare for a possible clash with Turkey. Now, why is this a possibility? Why is this in the realm of potentiality? Well, because Israel toppled Bashar al-Assad. Israel toppled the eye doctor. Bashar al-Assad was an eye doctor back in England. The guy was not a threat to Israel, and then Israel takes him out. Israel supports Bashar al-Assad's enemies. Israel was supporting the Syrian rebels. Israel was backing Syrian rebel groups like Jabhat al-Nusra for years because Israel wanted to topple Bashar al-Assad, and now Israel has what it has been desiring, the toppling of Bashar al-Assad. Bashar al-Assad is no longer there, and what is happening? You are seeing the rise of the Turkish Leviathan over Syria. And that is a direct result of toppling Bashar al-Assad. And so now Israel is worried. Israel is saying, oh my God, Bashar al-Assad, we thought he was the bad guy. We got rid of him. We toppled him. We got rid of him. But now, oh my God, what's happening? Turkey is now rising. We have to deal with what? A revived Ottoman Empire? Oh my God, it's much worse. It's much worse than the eye doctor. We got rid of the eye doctor. We got rid of him. He's no longer here. He fled to Russia. We were laughing. We were laughing about it. We thought it was all funny. We thought it was all just jokes and giggles. We got a kick out of it. We got a kick out of watching that eye doctor running away. We were laughing. We were calling him an ally of Iran. We said we have to get rid of him because he's a proxy of the Iranians, and Iran is just the head of this axis of evil, and that it was the worst thing in the world. Oy vey. But it looks like what has come about from all this is far, far, far worse. We have a revived Ottoman Empire. Oh my God. Now we have to deal with this. Now we have to deal with a worse monster than before. Oh my God. Oy vey. Oy vey. What's that sound? Oh. Oy. Oy vey. Oy gewalt. Oy vey. I hear something. I hear something. It's coming from the thick fog. I can hear it coming from the winds. What's that sound? Oh my God. Oy vey. Oy vey. And now Israel is terrified of a rising Turkey looming from the clouds of history. I remember many years ago, this had to have been, 15, 16, 17, maybe even 18 years ago. I was in a Jewish family's house. We used to hang out with a lot of Jewish people back when I was living in the Bay Area, Northern California. For those of you who don't understand Californian geography, the Bay Area is in Northern California. Anyway, we were in this Jewish family's home, and they were very good friends of ours. And there was another Jewish family. Well, there was a Jewish couple that was present, and they were a lot older. And my father was talking about the revival of the Ottoman Empire. And my dad said, "You watch, Turkey is going to revive. Turkey is going to come back." And do you know what these Israelis told us? They were Israeli, these people, Jewish Israelis. Do you know what these Israelis said? They said, we don't believe you. That sounds like a bunch of rubbish. That sounds crazy. That sounds so sensational, so far-fetched, so adventuresome, so unbelievable. But now you are seeing the warnings of the past coming alive, and you are seeing the fears of Israel resounding through the political climate of the Levant. They had the eye doctor. Bashar al-Assad. He was an eye doctor back in the UK, and his brother died, so his father, Hafiz, called him up and said, "Bashar, come back to Syria. You have to be now the president of the country. Your brother has died." And he went back. And he ruled over Syria for years and years before the civil war broke out. And it seemed as if things were quite normal. Christians were protected. Jews were protected. Yes, Sunnis were given rights. Shiites had rights. Alawites were the dominant group because they are only 10% of the country. And if you give the freaking Sunnis the power, they would have just persecuted the Alawites like they are right now. And then that creep, John Bolton, that psychopath, that weirdo, that lunatic, that evil serpentine creature came along and he said, Syria and Iran, they are part of this evil axis. They are part of this axis of evil. And so they made this out to be as if it was just a whole completely and utterly sinister alliance, and Syria was a part of this utterly sinister, completely evil, purely dark force within the Middle East. It was as if what Bashar al-Assad was a Syrian Hitler, a Middle Eastern Hitler, a Semitic Hitler, and they said he needed to go down. And so now they have what they wanted. Now they got what they have been asking for years for. The Israelis were asking for years for the toppling of these leaders. Saddam Hussein, they wanted him down, they got him down. They wanted all these Middle Eastern leaders gone. And now Bashar al-Assad, well, he's gone too. And the Israelis, now they're worried about Turkey. Now they're worried about Turkey. And I said this, Bashar al-Assad was toppled. And the night that he was toppled, I fell into despair. I'll be honest with you. I felt very, very gloomy because I know that with the toppling of Bashar al-Assad will come what? The rise of Sunni fanaticism in Syria, which will lead to the persecution of Christians and other people like Alawites. And I understood the immense human suffering that would come about as a result of the toppling of Bashar al-Assad. And so I fell into despair. And I did a video, and I said in the video, say goodbye to Bashar al-Assad, say goodbye to the eye doctor, and say hello to the revived Ottoman Empire. And I said, Israel, the land of the Jews, Israel, be careful what you wish for. Beware of what you wish for. And now you have what you wished for. And now you're worried. Now you're worried. And I've been saying this for a while. My father has been saying this for a while. The Ottomans will eventually do an invasion of Israel. They will sack Israel. They will sack Israel. And for years, the Turks have been talking about invading Israel. And this is the second most armed country in NATO, Turkey. Militarily, very powerful. It is a regional powerhouse in the Near East. And Iran is weaker than Turkey. Syria under Bashar al-Assad was way weaker than Turkey. And what does Israel do? Instead of just saying, okay, with Bashar, yes, he's with Iran, but we can contain him. Yes, he is contained. He's a lot more controllable than Turkey. Turkey is the second most armed country in NATO. And so if you have a rising Turkey and it wants to destroy Israel, Israel is going to be facing a monster. And so what does Israel do? They removed Bashar al-Assad, who was an enemy of Turkey. He was an enemy of Turkey. And now they have the second most armed country in NATO. And not only that, it's a country that for years has been talking about invading Israel. So the second most armed country in NATO, which has been talking about invading Israel for years, is now right next door to Israel. And it's a result of Israel's policy. And it's a result of what Israel has been seeking for years. So let me get this straight, Israel. You remove Bashar al-Assad, and you knew for a fact that by removing him, you would have the second most armed country in NATO right next door. And not only that, it's a country that wants to destroy you. And you just enabled its coming right next door. You enabled its arrival right across your border. I thought Jewish people were supposed to be intelligent. I thought Jewish people were supposed to have these super high IQs. What the hell is wrong with Israel? For years I've been hearing, well, the Ashkenazi Jews, they have super high IQs, the highest IQs in the world. They are super geniuses, super genius commandos. They have IQs of 1 million. They have 5 gazillion IQ levels. No one can fathom their levels of immense intelligence. And what do the Israelis do? The Jewish state, right? This should be the country with all the super high IQs, right? And what do they do? What did they do? They enable the coming of Turkey right next door. They enable Turkey to come right next door, right across from their border. And it's the second most armed country in NATO, and it wants to destroy Israel. And it's way more advanced than Iran militarily. I thought you Jews were supposed to be smart. I thought you guys were supposed to have the super high IQs. I guess that was all just a bunch of bullshit. The Nagel Committee on the Defense Budget presented its recommendations to Prime Minister Netanyahu, in addition of approximately 15 billion shekels per year, an extension of service to 3 years, and conscription for all. That means Orthodox Jews will no longer be exempt from military service. They're going to have to join the IDF. And you know what that means? That means Jewish ISIS. Because if you look at the Orthodox Jewish military unit that the IDF already has, it is the most extremist of all the IDF units, and it's also the most violent. It has the biggest notoriety for violence than all of the other military units in the IDF. It is known to be very violent towards Palestinians in the West Bank, and these people are anti-Christian. They hate Christ. They hate the New Testament. They want to destroy churches. I mean, these are very, very sick people, and that's just one military unit in the IDF, and they want to draft the whole damn insane asylum in Israel known as the They want to draft the entire insane asylum known as the Orthodox Jewish world. These are the people who, I don't know, they always try to trick God, and they say, well, I can't turn on a refrigerator during the Sabbath, so I got this special mechanism here, and it kind of turns on the light for me, so I don't have to work, because turning on a light switch is technically work. By the way, on the Sabbath, I walk to the synagogue. I don't drive to the synagogue, because in our warped thinking, walking is not work, but driving is work. So even in the peak of summer, when it's 103 degrees outside, I'm going to be walking to the synagogue because I am just so damn holy. Yeah, that's a high level of mental illness. You put those people in the military, you give them guns, you give them training, and you give them a sense of empowerment, and you got yourself an army of psychopaths, narcissistic psychopaths. So really, there's nothing optimistic about this, but because Israel is in a lot of danger, and guess what? They got rid of the eye doctor. Now they have the Ottoman Empire next door. All right. Like I said, I thought you Jewish people were supposed to be super smart, real high IQs, real high, real high IQs you guys have. Yup. Let's enable the revival of the Ottoman Empire. And guess what? Guess what, Uri? Guess what? They're going to be right next door. They're going to be right next door across the Golan Heights. Yeah, we had Assad. We had Assad back in the day. He was an eye doctor. I don't know. Maybe he could have prescribed me some good glasses, some good reading glasses. But now we have the Ottoman Empire. And the Ottoman Empire, well, they're not going to give me glasses. They're going to give me a hazook. And if you don't know what a hazook is, go Google it. And I'll just explain to you guys real quick. It's basically an Ottoman form of punishment in which they got a giant stick and they shoved it up your ass and they impaled you alive, and they impaled you in a way where they didn't hit any of the vital organs, they didn't hit any vital arteries, they definitely made sure not to hit your heart, and they would keep you alive for several days as you were made into a literal shish kebab. Yeah, these aren't nice people. But Israel, with its super high IQs and its giant population of peak IQ, well, they just enabled the Ottoman Empire, and it just so happens that they toppled the dictator who was an enemy of this aspiring Ottoman Empire, and they got rid of him, and now they have the Ottoman Empire next door. So yeah, peak IQ, guys. All right, so here's another part of the article. It says, Netanyahu said upon submitting the report that, quote, this is from the Prime Minister of Israel himself, so very, very important. Listen carefully, guys, all right? You're about to hear some peak ass IQ language. So here we go. We are in the midst of a fundamental change in the situation in the Middle East. We have known for years that Iran is the greatest threat to us, both directly and through its proxies. We were, of course, concerned about damaging this axis, a very serious damage, but we are witnessing that A, it still exists. We wanted to get rid of Iran, but Iran is still there, no shit. And B, that additional forces are entering the area. Who's entering the area, Naughton? Who's entering the area? Who's entering Syria? Oh, it's Turkey, right? Right, Turkey, an aspiring Ottoman Empire. Yeah. Additional forces are entering the area, and we must always be prepared for what comes next. Ooh, we got rid of the eye doctor, the nerd who was educated in the UK. He was educated in freaking Oxford. Bashar al-Assad wasn't interested in destroying Israel. He wasn't interested. The guy didn't even have the capabilities for going to war with a serious army, let alone fighting the rebels. He had enough difficulty dealing with the psychopaths in his own damn country. He didn't want to deal with Jewish psychopaths. He only had enough resources to deal with the Sunni Muslim psychopaths. But now his country, he's no longer there, but now his country is being overran by Israel, Turkey, and a bunch of Sunni genie demons. Oh my God, have mercy. Here we go. Let's read some more. Israel must defend itself on its own with all that this implies and be prepared for it. Prepared for what? Prepared for what? Oh, Turkey, right? This all could have been prevented, but no, they had to get rid of the eye doctor. They enabled the Muslim Sunni gremlins to overrun the country. Alawites are being killed. Christians are being persecuted. Oh, under the eye doctor, Christians were allowed to have Christmas trees. You know that, right? Yeah, right. I'm sure some of you guys thought that it was always some kind of Sharia law hellhole. But no. Under the eye doctor, who was this evil man, according to John Bolton, and also John McCain, the two geniuses, the two Johns, the two genius Johns, John Bolton and John McCain, they were saying, oh, Bashar al-Assad, he's so evil, so sinister. He's Hitler, he's Hitler. Yeah, so under the eye doctor, Christians were allowed to actually go to church. They were protected. They were allowed to have Christmas trees. They were given freedom. And then the eye doctor got removed. And guess what you see not too long after the eye doctor's removal? Well, you see a burning Christmas tree because you have the Sunni psychopaths who are just essentially Unitarian Calvinists. They're Unitarian Calvinists. And just like the Puritans before them, they hate Christmas trees and they hate Christmas. War on Christmas. Here we are talking about a war on Christmas in in America. For how long, for how many decades have we been hearing about a war on Christmas? The atheists want to destroy Christmas. And what does America do? America freaking removes the eye doctor, and then automatically there's a war on Christmas in Syria. Yeah, we don't want a war on Christmas here in America, but we sure as hell don't give a damn if they do a war on Christmas in Syria. Yes. So here we are. Here's another section here, and this is the most pertinent part of the article. It says here, we must not forget the source, and this is from the report here from the committee, the Nagel committee. It says here, we must not forget the source from which the rebels and their leaders came. Yeah, we all know, right? Oh yeah, by the way, Israel was supporting the rebels for years, so there's that. And for this reason, it must be taken into account that Israel may find itself facing a new threat. What's that new threat? So this new threat that will be created in Syria, which will in certain respects be no less serious than the previous one. So he's talking about the Sunnis here, actually, in the form of an extremist Sunni force. Oh, you mean the Sunni force that Bashar al-Assad was containing and fighting and defeating? Oh, that Sunni force. You know, I find it amazing that within Israel's occupied territories, they have two Sunni forces that they deal with. So Hamas, Sunni, and you have the Jenin battalion in the West Bank, also Sunni. And so what does Israel do? With all of its high IQ Ashkenazi genius, Israel destroys the government, the Shiite government, that was actually containing the Sunnis from across its borders. And now you have more Sunnis. So you have Sunnis in the West Bank, you have Sunni gremlins in the West Bank, Sunni gremlins in Gaza, and now you have Sunni gremlins across the border. Tell me about the amazing IQ of Israel again. So it says here, a greater threat may arise from the Syrians than the Iranian threat. Whoa, hold on. I thought Iran was the biggest threat. I thought Iran was Hitler. I thought Iran was the continuation of the Third Reich. It was the Fourth Reich. It was the Ayatollah Khamenei. I thought the Ayatollah Khamenei was the biggest threat. It was the big bad wolf. But now the Israelis are saying, wait a second, there's actually something worse than Iran. Oh my God. You had a bunch of average bloggers in America's Midwest who were telling you that. You had people in America who were saying that. I'm not even talking about people who are geopolitical analysts and geopolitical geniuses or NATO-educated geniuses. I'm talking about average people like myself. We could have told you that. I don't have to be a member of some Israeli government-backed committee to know that. I knew that for years. I knew that years ago. Now, all of a sudden, the Israeli committee, the Nagel committee, is going to tell us, oh, actually, no, there's something that's worse than Iran. Oh, no shit, Sherlock. Oy vey, there's something worse. We got rid of the eye doctor. We thought the eye doctor was awful, but it turns out that he actually could have just given us a nice pair of prescription eyeglasses. But now, oh my God, oy vey, we have to deal with the Turkish scimitar. We have to deal with the hazook. Yes, that's right, guys. And you guys helped to create this mess. You really did. A greater threat may arise from the Syrians than the Iranian threat, which was limited due to continuous Israeli activity as well as due to the necessity to operate within the limitations imposed on it by the sovereign Syrian state. What the hell? They're literally saying that Syria was containing Iran. Let's read this again. A greater threat may arise from the Syrians than the Iranian threat, which was limited. Iran was limited due to the continuous Israeli activity, as well as due to the necessity to operate within the limitations imposed on it by the sovereign Syrian state. So Israel is literally admitting, you know, Assad was bad, but we were able to control him. Iran was operating in Syria, but we were still able to sort of contain Iran in Syria. And also, the Syrian government, the Assad government, was containing Iran within its own borders, containing Iran within Syria. So Iran was controllable. Bashar al-Assad was containable and doable and controllable and workable, and he was able to be reasoned with to a certain extent. They're literally just admitting what we knew all along. Everyone online, all of the people who are critical of NATO, critical of the war in Ukraine, critical of American foreign policy, all the people who for years have been critical of NATO's backing of the Syrian revolution, were saying this all along, that listen, yeah, Assad, he's not a saint, okay, but he's still workable. People were saying this for years, and what did people do? What did the NATO geniuses do? They laughed at them. They laughed at people like myself. They laughed at us. Oh, well, you must support Hezbollah. You must support Shiite terrorism. Well, you know, Hezbollah actually protects churches in Lebanon, so Hezbollah is not even the most evil force in the world. Let's be real here. Hezbollah is nothing in comparison to ISIS. ISIS went out and just butchered a whole bunch of Christians. Oh, and by the way, Jabhat al-Nusra would butcher Christians as if they were cattle animals. They were butchering Druze. They were butchering Alawites as if they were cattle animals. And who was supporting Jabhat al-Nusra? Oh, Israel was. Yeah, that's right. So now they're saying exactly what we were saying before, and we were saying this years ago, but guess what? We were getting gaslit for years, and now they're admitting, yeah, actually, this was the case. And now we have to deal with something worse than Bashar al-Assad. And I was saying this back in 2012. I was saying this back in 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, all the way up to now, saying the same damn thing. Yeah, Bashar al-Assad is really not the biggest problem for Israel. And the article goes on to say the problem will intensify if the Syrian force becomes, in practice, a Turkish emissary. You're too late. That train has already passed. It's already a Turkish protectorate. And it says here, as part of realizing Turkey's dream, oh my God, look, Israel's actually saying it. As part of realizing Turkey's dream of restoring the Ottoman crown to its former glory and lead to a direct Turkish-Israeli conflict. Oh my God, oy vey, oy gewalt, shalom, shalom, shalom aleichem, except there's not going to be any aleichem. There's not going to be any peace for Israel. There's not going to be any, shalom, yeah, shalom aleichem. Yeah, there's not going to be any salam. There's not going to be peace, because Israel just toppled the guy who was helping to control the Sunni problem, and now you have the Sunni beast unleashed in the Levant, in Syria. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'm telling you what's going to happen. What's going to happen is the next Holocaust. And I am absolutely, I'll be honest with you guys, I know I do these videos and we make jokes and we get excited and we get enthusiastic and I raise up my voice, and that's because I want to be lively during these videos. I don't want to be rigid and cold and boring and jejune. But let's be real, it is terrifying what the future holds. The future is terrifying, guys. I think about this every single day. There's not a single night when I don't think about this. I'm not exaggerating here. I am terrified for the future. Why is that? Let's talk about this for a moment. Let's talk about this for one moment here. What do we see happening around the world? All right, let's be real here. People don't really like the Jews anymore. Now, there used to be a lot of pro-Israel sentiment, but that's all just going down. That's all degrading. And a lot more people are starting to hate Jews. There has been an immense increase, an immense explosion of anti-Semitism, and I don't think we've seen this level of anti-Semitism since the mid-20th century. It's that serious. It is horrifying to see what's happening. You go onto Twitter, or X now, X, all right, it's X, and it's just Israel this, Jews that, we hate Jews, Jews are this, Jews are evil, Jews are demonic, Jews are demons, Jews are this, and it's like watching propaganda from Nazi Germany, depicting, and they use AI art now, by the way. They're using all this AI artwork to depict Jews in these very, very degrading ways, Jews as mice, Jews as rodents, Jews as demons, Jews as just the epitome of all things sinister and evil, and I'll be honest with you guys, it is sickening. I am critical of Israel. There's nothing wrong with being critical of a government or a country's culture. There's nothing wrong with that. There are cultures that are better than others. There are cultures that are worthy of criticism. All cultures, no cultures are exempt from criticism. I'll just put it that way. So I have no issue with doing that. But when you start seeing people saying this ethnic group is this ethnic group is inferior, this ethnic group is evil, demonic, that's when you start getting into genocidal mindsets. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this cultivation. We are seeing this buildup of this mentality where now Hitler is being seen as a good guy, and there's a lot of pro-Hitler sentiment out there. And guys, it is freaking Terrifying. People sit there and they glorify war, and it's very easy to start to glorify war. Like, oh, war is based, war is cool, war is heroic, war is valorous, war is glorious, war is just amazing. And then you actually see war. You see war on through a video screen, and you get a glimpse, you get a sample of how horrifying war is. And I saw this video, and I should have never watched it, but someone told me about it during my live stream, and it's a video of a Russian soldier and a Ukrainian soldier fighting to the death. They're fighting in hand-to-hand combat, and they are fighting to the death. And it goes on for 10, 15 minutes. I mean, and I couldn't watch the whole thing. I had to skip through it. I couldn't watch it. It's horrifying. This Russian guy has this knife. The Ukrainian is fighting for his life. And then you see they're just tussling, and one man is on top of the other. And then you see this, I had to fast forward this part. You see this man pushing against the other guy with his hand, and the guy bites the man's hand, and you see the teeth being sunk into this man's flesh, and the blood is dripping down, and they're screaming in agony. And I tell myself, I can't watch this. I can't watch this. This is war. This is horror. Human beings were not made to go through this. Human beings were not designed for this. This is not natural. This is not what God intended. This is not what God created us for. He created us to live happy lives, to farm, to grow, to build, to be innovative. He didn't design us for this. And this is why when we see something like this, we get horrified. We get disturbed because our brain is telling us it's not natural. War is not natural. I understand that at times war is necessary, but war is really necessary in extremely, extremely rare occasions. And I can't stand it. I can't take it. And I get the feeling that in the future, America is going to bring back the draft. This is one of my fears. And if they want to put me in the U.S. Army to go fight in some tank unit in I don't know, in Israel somewhere, in the Negev somewhere, I'm going to tell them, might as well just put me in prison. Because I'm a 34-year-old millennial with gout. I ain't going to survive. You might as well just put me behind bars. It's horrifying. War is unnatural. It's unnatural. And I was thinking about World War I recently, and it's like, you look at World War I, tens of millions of people butchered over and over again, just sending soldiers out into these meat grinders, into these blenders of butchery and slaughter. And you just read about World War I, just sending men into the trenches, sending men into these battlefields where they would get mowed down by the tens of thousands in a single battle. In any given battle, just men getting just mowed down by machine gun fire and tanks and poisonous gas, and you ask yourself, why? Why in the hell did this happen? Why? Germany invaded Belgium. Why? Then Germany expanded into France. Why? And then Germany declared war on this country and that country, and Russia got involved, the UK got involved, and then the slaughter just went on. And then you read about the battle over the Dardanelles. You read about how the British sent all of these men from New Zealand to go fight the Ottomans in the Dardanelles, fighting over the Dardanelles, fighting over that route that leads into the Mediterranean from the Sea of Marmara. So it's a very, very geopolitically important position. And the Turks and the Germans, they covered that whole water territory, that whole maritime territory with mines. That whole area was mined. It was filled with mines. And then you had French naval ships, you had British naval ships, and the Germans had U-boats in the ocean, and they were taking out the British and the French naval ships. They were taking them out. They were taking out these naval ships. And so these poor Kiwis, these poor New Zealander fighters, they had no naval support. And so here they were on the battlefield, in the trenches, fighting the Ottomans with no naval support, nothing, no air support, nothing. And they were being butchered. And so many thousands of Kiwis were killed fighting the Ottomans. And what did Winston Churchill say when they told them, listen, you're sending these men out to die. This is not going to be a victory. These men are going to be butchered. Churchill said, it means nothing to me. It is no matter to me because no matter what happens, the people will be on our side. Winston Churchill said something to the likes of this. He didn't give a shit. And they send people out to go die in these wars, and then you have these fat cigar smokers who don't give a damn about you. They don't give a shit about you. Your parents spent decades raising you up. Pay no mind. They don't give a damn. Send them out to die. And that's war. That is the unnatural reality of war. That is the tragedy of war. And people are just talking about war so willy-nilly, so nonchalantly. Oh, war. Yes, war with Russia. Oh, yes, Ukraine needs to continue on the war. And Zelensky was going to have a meeting with Putin to have peace. And freaking that merchant, that Janissarian Boris Johnson. Oh, yes, Boris Johnson. He's a good English boy. He's a good old English boy just like you. No, go look at his family history. Go look at Boris Johnson's family history. You'll see merchants and Janissarians. And Boris Johnson went over there and he told Zelensky, you better not have a peace with Russia. Zelensky, you better not have a peace. You better not do peace. Kill, die, more death, more killing, more meat grinders. Why? Because big companies make money. They make money. And as long as you have war for profit, they will always try to find ways to do wars. They will always try to find ways to get young men to go die in battlefields so they can sell weapons. Israel butchering tens of thousands of Gazans? Well, there's Palantir. There's Peter Thiel in Israel. There's Palantir in Israel. Oh, Israel, we're going to sell you some more stuff, more AI weaponry, more AI technology so you can keep on killing. Because as long as you keep on killing, we make money. The sounds of people crying, the sounds of people screaming, the sounds of death resounding through the air, that's dollar signs. That's cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. We don't give a damn. And now Israel, glorying in its own slaughter of Palestinians, glorying in the fact that it has been slaughtering so many people. Now Israel is having to face the Turkish Leviathan, and now Israel is terrified. And honestly, I am terrified for the future because looking at the history of the Jewish people, we see what? Pogroms, we see the Holocaust, and history rhymes. The symphony of history rhymes. The song of human existence rhymes, and that evil, that darkness, that harrowing reality is coming back. It's coming back. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying. Anyway, guys, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.